Hi, I'm Peter Jurasik. I played Lando Molare on Babylon 5, and you're watching Q2 Cast TV. By the way, I hear the Psycho is looking for you. I would hate very much if they found you.
I have to also first start off, since I'm starting off here. Peter, I wanted to thank you for coming on the show. I mean, I went out and got my shirt out, my Babylon 5 shirt there on there, have you on the face, because you have been one of my favorite. Let's show it again. Yeah, there we go. You have been one of my favorite characters on the series. You and Andreas, I love the interaction for you. A couple parts to this. Your scenes with Andreas has become legendary in the sci-fi community. How much time did you take to prepare for each scene between you and Andreas?
You know what? We didn't take as you have probably heard, man, about, or so many Babylon 5 fans have heard too. We had different work, the way we went about our work. Andreas was, first of all, he had done such great work. He had worked in the very top-notch best theater, Peter Brook's Theater out of the UK, traveled around and did, great work all around the world, including in front of the Shah of Iran and, all over Africa. So he, the one-armed man in what was the show? The one-armed man in
The Fugitive.
The Fugitive. I mean, that's a great performance. He was so quiet and scary in it. He did a great job. So, but he would get dressed in the morning. We all would get dressed and do our makeup together. And when he got into the Jacquard drag, as I used to call it, he basically stayed in there all day. He was serious about his work. You could tell it was Andreas because he had the ubiquitous cigarette going all the time. He loved to smoke, and but he stayed close to the character all the time. I don't work that way. Lando took so much more energy. You could tell he's a much more energetic guy than me. He's a funnier guy than me. He's more ambitious probably than I am. And so I look forward to getting off the set. So we didn't really work on the scenes together. We both respected enough what we both were doing. It was kind of him because he was really, the top of the heap in our cast in terms of talent, I think, and work.
I mean, was there any ad-libbing between your? I mean, you had so many great scenes. I took a bit of a history lesson back to watch some of your stuff, like the elevator scene on there, the scene in the chamber room where basically you told Jakar he's no longer basically a representative of his world, and then you screamed out, he's like, no, to get him out, and Andreas gave that speech, and I know Boxlighter had not Box Boxlighter had said later on that it made the hairs on his back, as Sheridan, it made my hair on the back of my neck just go up to that situation.
A good actor can do that for you, right?
Yeah. But was there any ad-libbing to that point, in some of the scenes?
You know what? Really, in terms of ad-libbing, I think that we had gotten a little bit of a leash from JMS that he was okay once we had proved himself that we were going to cover his material. But and we liked each other a lot. We were friends away from the set, so we could make each other laugh and we could cut up. Some people have seen outtakes and blooper reels that they saw. We would goof on the characters a little bit. So we could get away with a little, but JMS was pretty strict about, he wasn't a word-to-word person. You got to get it exactly right. Mm-hmm. But he was, once or twice, I think I went in and said to him, I don't know about this scene, Joe, or maybe on my character. And he would listen kindly, Madman, and then he would say, yeah, just do it the way I wrote it. He'd give you a cup of coffee and a bagel and listen to you whine for a minute and then tell you, no, just do it the way I did it. It'll work out better.
Getting back to something you said earlier, about makeup and all that. Now, there was always times that people had said Andreas hated the makeup. He never liked to be in a movie or a series where there'd be a lot of makeup on the face or anything like that. But he was Tomalak in Star Trek, and then he came over and did Jakar and this. And it was a great makeup job for Jakar on there. But I said,
Absolutely. I
because I
don't
know
know
there's
that
some
I
people
can
that just
comment about that really,
yeah.
man. I don't know that he was really. I don't think he hated the work, but I think he was, as I said, you just look at The Fugitive, for instance, and
Mhm.
no makeup there. That's Andreas, and he was wonderfully expressive, and so maybe he didn't like. But he certainly never, mouthed off about it, and couldn't have been more cooperative considering the stuff they were doing. His makeup was many, many times more difficult and more restricting than mine. His was a full piece that covered his whole face.
Right.
Mine, as you know, just basically was from here up to put that bald cap on, and then the rest of it was painted on my face. So he had those big eye contact things he had to wear. A number of different actors came in to play the part that Julie Brown eventually played, his attaché, and they couldn't do it. They just couldn't do it. They couldn't wear those things all day over their eyes. They were too. So if Andreas did feel that way, I can't comment on that because he never complained to me about it. He was not a complaining guy by his nature. So.
Mhm. Okay, so I have a question from Lord Mathis out here. Was the nature of the relationship between Jakar and Londo in the writing, or was it the result of input between Peter and Andreas, or was it a bit of both, i.e., an effort between the actors and writers?
Well, really, that's the true answer. I mean, obviously, I've already said that good writing is where it's about. That if it ain't on the ain't on the page, it's not on the stage. So we appreciated that we had good writing, but Andreas and I were both actors who understood that our role was to bring who we were to that writing, and I don't say that it's part and parcel with JMS's work. You know that what you want to do with a character, even a character like Sid, who is no makeup but had his the crazy hair, that you got to bring yourself to the work. That's what you're trying to do. That's the ultimate job, is to be truthful if you can, and honest in the work, understand the script, and then mix yourself into the wonderful writing. So um, I can't get written out of the next script by JMS by saying this, but we were all together. Yes. I mean, I can't imagine. I can imagine actually somebody else playing my role, but I have a hard time imagining somebody else playing Shakar because he brought a real essence to it, and I may have brought an essence to it, but I would like to see somebody else play my role. When fans come up to me at cons and stuff, when I used to do those things and would do Londo Mollari, that was really fun for me. I thought, you might be able to play a Centauri, and that goes for you, man. By the way,
Oh, gee, thank
oh
you.
yes, oh yes.
Oh,
If we could get
really?
you in
You
the
think I
wig,
could be just like you?
yes, there you go. See, they can't, as Jimmy Durante, who nobody knows anymore, used to say, everybody wants to get into the
Yeah.
act.
Yes. I
Anyway,
know
it,
Jimmy.
it, it was a
Yeah.
combination of all of it. I
Mhm.
mean, when it's done well, acting, the actor and the writer are both working together with the director, right?
Right. Well,
I gotta say, sir, I believe, I agree, Andreas did bring a gravitas to that, but you did as well. I mean, I flop back and forth between you two as my favorite on the show. I hope none of the other actors are listening, but I mean, you guys were just great together, and each individually in the show. I mean, it was just, great acting. I loved it. But sorry,
I had a ball snob, and you could see that. I knew I was in I knew I was in a great spot. Pig shit, I was happy. So,
Well,
and
just wait. There's more coming. These guys haven't seen, so it gets better.
what did you say, Cam?
I was going to say that these guys haven't seen some of these guys haven't seen the whole show. So you've got we're in the middle of season 3, and you've got some really excellent stuff coming up. So
some arguably, the later episodes are some of the best. Third and fourth season, like any show, everybody gets better. The people who are filming it, the tech people, the people who are writing it. In this case, we had one writer, but all the actors start to discover you can hardly go to any show. I mean, if you go to whatever your favorite show, Seinfeld or Friends or whatever show, the first seasons are troubled because people are trying to write the right stuff for the right people. And, so yeah, good stuff to come up in third and fourth season. That's right.
Well, Peter, we're getting inundated with, it's just coming through now. I'm putting them up, some of the chats, and they're all saying that, you and Andreas are the keys to this show. So
a little money
they
goes
all agree
a long
with me.
way.
I'm sorry to tell you, but
what's that, Snob?
They all seem to agree with me that you two, you're at least as equally as good. You guys made it, so yeah.
Well, as I said, a little money goes a long way with some people. You get $10 out there, they'll say positive things about you. So I didn't have to spend that much to get the good reviews.
But speaking of some of the shows that the episodes you've done now, more recently, you returned to the role as Londa Malari in the animated the Road Home.
Yes.
How was it to reprise the role in this recent animated movie?
It was fun, and it was interesting. By that time, I felt, I just said, third or fourth seasons got better because everybody gets more practice. So I'm not as good a Londo as I was, in the middle of the third season of shooting him. So I suffered with that a little bit. I particularly missed, the original cast. It was the people who filled in for the people who have passed, gone beyond the rim, were great people and worked really hard at it. But it was not an easy. It wasn't easy for me to do. That's all. I'm also. Partly again with my theater background, but I'm also, besides a little over the top, I work physically a lot. My characters come out of how I walk, what I wear, So not having that under my to do. Anyway, it was a good experience, but it was a difficult experience. No Andreas, no Veer. I miss those people. Those people were really good actors, but really good friends, and we had great working relationships. So it rolled fast. You guys work together, right, as a team, or don't you? Well, then
Right.
It gets better when you work with people. What was that?
I said we try, I even kidnapped Cam for my own show.
Well, eventually you get better, right? When you work with somebody a while.
Yeah. Let me ask you, this is with about because you and Andreas were fantastic, Londo here, but also you and Veer had such great interaction as well. I mean, you were so much. I see that you had so much joy doing this. I mean, it was really good to see these scenes with him on there. And he's gone beyond the rim. He said that the interaction you had with him. I mean, you guys just hit it off. I mean, was it slow at first, or was it just like magic at the beginning?
You know what? We had known each other. We both. He did St. Elsewhere, which was a great hospital drama. People like Denzel Washington came out of that cast. He did that show on MTM, the Mary Tyler Moore lot, the Radford lot, and we were literally right across the street from each other. And so Stephen and I knew each other. Plus, he and I both went up for a couple of roles and got called back a number of times. I forget, there was a movie with Michael Keaton and Christopher Lloyd, and I guess they were called the Dream Team, maybe, or not. Anyway, I mean, he and I went up on stuff together, so we knew each other as auditioning actors. And he was funny as can be. He called himself a curmudgeon, Stephen did. but he wasn't really a curmudgeon. He liked droll and dark humor, but he could make you laugh, and we had such a good time together. And I think that that made our work really work well. We had a great time. We enjoyed our time together. I tried to back when I was doing single guests and stuff. You try to build a rapport with the people you're working with. Stephen, I didn't have to build a rapport with. He's so funny that he would crack me up, and we were like, two good buddies or two good schoolgirls, giggling all the time. He was an easy person those were easy days.
Oh yeah, because I remember him for Animal House. I mean, he was great in Animal House.
I know, right?
Yeah,
funny.
He was really funny. Now, the show always had the narrations and all that. But one thing I've noticed, and maybe some of the fans noticed, that you had let's see, the pilot, and then in the beginning, the narration. And it seems that JMS had you pegged as the true narrator of Babylon 5. I mean, do you think that was true with that, or was that just JMS just said, "Yeah, go ahead, here, read it"?
The person to ask that question to, and so many of these questions, that's the person you want to get on your show. You can't get Andreas, you can't get me or Stephen, but you could get JMS if you were lucky, and he would be the person who could answer that. He told us we could look at the Bible and we could get an overview of the story if we wanted, but that doesn't mean we were going to understand it. And he had built it so he had trapdoors and stuff like that. And I think ultimately, when it was all said and done, I think he probably thought, yeah, it was Londo and Jakar's story, but like all good shows, the romantic relationship between Sinclair and Delenn was very important to the show. And then, as I said, all the other characters, all the Jerry Doyle episodes, all Andrea Thompson, and those all they're really important. But in a sense, I think by the end he had kind of revealed that in a centerpiece, maybe that's what he was looking for. But we spun out. He's such a good writer; he could work it all. In terms of the actual narrations, he just told me to do it, and I did it.
Now you mentioned Andrea. Of course, we're already past that point where Andrea has left the show at the point, and Patricia has returned to the show because she was in the pilot and all that. How was it? How did you feel? When Andrea left and then Patricia returned, and you hadn't seen Patricia in a while since the pilot.
Listen, Claudia at some point left. Jerry Doyle left. Right. Those are part of ensemble shows. The people on Cheers lost their original bartender guy and Woody Harrelson replaced them. Stuff like that. That's built into a long-term series. And people from Hill Street Blues passed on and they replaced them. That's part of rolling with the punches, and sticking. My wife used to say to me all the time when I thought of myself as too important, she'd say, "Peter, if you drop dead tomorrow, they'd have somebody else in the Londo part so fast." You couldn't believe it. And she's right. It rolls on. My wife and I were reading Robert Frost stuff this morning because we got our snow and all that. So he's a wonderful New England poet, if you guys don't know him, but and one of the lines he said, his opinion about life is that he sums up life in 3 words: life goes on. And I can see that life goes on, and that's what happened when Andrea had to leave and when Claudia had to leave, and all of them would admit, if they weren't getting treated fairly or if they weren't making enough money, they had every right to walk and to leave, and should. I would encourage the same thing for me or Andreas or anybody. You got to be happy in your work. So if you're not happy anymore, in terms of doing the work with him, I must admit I've always had a crush on Andrea Thompson. So Um,
Even though she became so evil, you know.
it all the more enraptures me, you know, that she became so evil. That's the part
Yeah,
I
but then
like.
it's, in a way,
How about the
Bester
fact that she
kind of
was
slipped.
married to Jerry Doyle?
But Bester kind of slipped. They said, yeah, you know, we kind of did some bad things there.
That's right. Yes.
They kind of closed her character out to not, not to come back, I guess, at that point.
As I said, it all the
what-
more enraptures me. The worse you are, the more I like you, as Longo. You know, he hung out with the shadows and Mr. Morton often.
Oh
yeah.
So. Yeah, yes, he did. And this is going to be out of the ballpark on here. From all the costume changes from the pilot straight through to season 5, even though you were stunning in purple, did you have a favorite costume for Londo Mollari?
I really, it's difficult for me to admit this because I have such a big ego about myself. But at some point, I stopped watching. They were called dailies when I was doing Hill Street Blues, because I couldn't believe that creature that was on the screen was me. You know, like most men, or like many men, I imagine, in this whatever I imagine myself to be, but it's not the guy with the big nose who looks kind of chubby, and So what can I say in terms of costuming? I never felt like I looked very good. My wife thought the boots were good. The boots were good. He wore great boots. He had exquisite jewelry they gave me. The people who made the pins and things that Londo wore, I really loved. I also had a little crush on the costume designer, so I was a good boy and hung around, too much to talk to her about costuming. When I was just basically interested in talking to her, but I didn't really love my costuming. In the first season, you remember they had Londo in a cape. Do you remember when he wore a cape?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Cape is a big pain in the ass to deal with, as you know. I mean, it's all over you, and at some point I did say, maybe she said to me, we're going to let the cape go, because they could see I was struggling with that. So, but other than that, I was, happy to have whatever looked good halfway on me. I was okay.
Yeah, it almost sounds like The Incredibles, where he goes like, "No capes here."
Exactly.
Did you get to keep any of the clothing from the series? No, not
Are you
at all.
kidding?
Even the purple.
I have a sheet of papers. It's about that thick, a quarter inch thick, of when Warner Brothers did all the auctions of all our costumes and all the props and all the jewelry. And they ain't so dumb. They made a lot of money keeping those costumes and when I left the set, I wanted to take something to be a memory for me. Let's see if it's around here. Yeah, I have it right up here. Hold on. And I requested that I could take one of the statues that was in Londo's quarters. Here it is. And they said no. They said write a request to Warner Brothers, and I did it in triplicate as they asked, and I'm not kidding. And then they wrote back and said, nope, we're not going to give it up. So, like so many of the people had already been encouraging me, especially Jerry Doyle. He said, pocket it, man. Are you kidding? Take it the last day, and they won't know. So,
is that the artifact that poisoned you?
No, I don't remember what that. There were 3 of these in my quarters.
Oh, okay.
It's just a little cheap piece of wood,
right,
with a plastic top. But I don't know what they sold them for. But I told you I have the list of what they got for Jakar's full costume and my full costume, and there were several thousands of dollars. So
you can only show that because the statute of limitations.
One more for you.
They're great questions, by the way, Madman. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, when the day was over, or time off, did you and the cast members spend any time outside? And I'm not talking Comic-Cons or anything like that, where you meet fans. I'm talking like, man, did you go over a picnic or anything? Did you spend any time with them?
Of course we did. Andreas and I were really good friends, so I spent plenty of time having to eat his dinners that he made. I'm not a cook, so he, I might take him out to a dinner, but I didn't force my food on him. But Mira and I were really good friends. Her husband, Goran, and my wife, Barbara, we were, we would share time. We both had kids at the same time. So my son
Was it Greek food?
Andreas was his Greek. Yeah, he liked Greek food. He did. But he was a guy who would eat almost anything. When I traveled with him on conventions and stuff, I was amazed at the stuff he'd put in his mouth. He would eat anything, Andreas. He loved life. He loved eating. He loved smoking. He loved women. So he had a good time in his life. Andreas did.
Yeah. Before, just to get back real quick, 1 second, and I'll say this: as far as the boots, both you and Andreas had the best boots on the show, the entire show.
Oh yeah.
Well, good. My wife liked the boots, so I'm.
I was just watching the scene with Andreas, and he was, when he's on the bridge and he's walking across, and all you see is just his boots walking across the stuff there.
They were.
You said Lando and Jakar wore the best boots in the entire series.
She was a wonderful designer, and God, I'm so embarrassed that I can't think of her name right now. I know there's fans out there who will remember who did the costume designs, but as I said, I'm 75. I'm not remembering things as much as I do. It was a long time ago.
But you're doing great. I mean, it's like the 30 plus on years on there. So I'm going to switch it over to Jeff now.
Bill Mooney, by the way. Bill Mooney was a good friend off the set.
That's great. So I'm going to switch this to Jeff. He's got a bunch of questions to ask you there. Thank you again. Thank you for coming on again.
Thank you.
It is a pleasure, especially to meet the great Lando Malari.
Well, you're so nice. You led me all the way through this getting on here. So thank you so much. Not that all of you didn't encourage me on.
We also have to thank, before I switch it to Jeff, we also have to thank David Shifter, who also put us together on there. Old high school friend of mine, and he got us together onto that.
And he was a friend of mine. Did you tell them what I said? We don't thank him. Just tell him to send me $100.
$100.
Right?
I'm going to text him right now on that.
Yeah, really. I tell him I'll take checks from him. I don't think anybody else will take checks from him now in life. So tell him I'll take a personal check.